All right. Welcome back to another Katasa Healing Talk. Hello, everybody. And happy solstice.
Yeah.
We're having a great show for you today. We will be talking about the promise of the ancient teachings and pretty much the reasons why we do this work and why they have been kept alive and unadulterated for thousands and thousands of years. So we're going to talk about what they bring to our lives and by extension to the world. I'm going to read the um, detailed description of what we put out for this talk and what promise do the ancient teachings hold for our lives, humanity, and the world. How can they help us create a new world where we can be self sovereign and free, recognize the love in all creation, and eliminate corruption, both within ourselves and the world around us? Okay, my name is Helmut. I am here again with Laura Keddy. Hi, Laura. And of course, Kay Cordell Whitaker. Hi, Kay.
Hi.
And Kay's new book is where she writes, talks a lot about these ancient teachings and what we will be talking about today in this hour that we have. Before we get started, if you're new to our channel, like, subscribe, comment, and share. And if you have questions, put them in the comments too. And even if you're not new, you can also like the video and share. All right, let's dive in. Kay.
Okay. Um, yeah, that's a big question. The the main promise that the ancients have made to us, to their descendants, is that for the people that are in this current world, this world that is currently dying, and we're about to be trying to build a whole new world, it's us they're talking to. And what they're saying is that we've had world after world after world. We don't really know how many. Some indigenous people have counted 3, and some have counted 4, and some have counted 5, and others say there's more than that. And they've left their little teensy tidbits of something behind, but they were each one wiped out. And they were wiped out because they ended up wiping themselves out. They killed themselves with wars, with poisons, with all kinds of different methodology. A number of these worlds that have gone before have grown to be extremely technological, even higher than we have, better technology than we have, better space travel, um, free energy of different types, anti-gravity, all kinds of fancy things, but they couldn't get past this corruption that they had within themselves. And when it's within you and it's within everybody else, the whole world is corrupt and running on corrupt values. And one of the things that the ancients say is that we are the race. It's us and it's our time. We're the only ones so far that have had a chance. We have a real chance at making it alive out of the end of this world without destroying ourselves completely. I know we're inching closer to it a little bit in the last days, But we have that chance to really make it. Have the old things, the old ways of things, the corruption fall apart, and um, we learn to live in a way that doesn't make the corruption even want to come back, let alone able to come back. And the ancients say the corruption is within us, inside personally, and it's in the whole culture. A great deal of this corruption begins around the invention of commerce and money and wealth. And what has happened every time is this corruption in the money and the values and morals and ethics and ideals that we carry within ourselves, we pass on to our children and their children and their children. They get twisted, they get corrupted, little by little, inch by inch. It is said that whatever it is we're using for money or commerce or collection of wealth, um, so that we can interact with each other. Wealth wouldn't be much of a value to us um, if we weren't using it for commerce. But it's this relationship, this interaction with each other in terms of commerce, in terms of I have something that you don't, you have something that I don't, and I need what you have. You have a need for what I have. So let's do a little trading. Let let's trade back and forth. And at the beginning of these worlds, that would start off on a pretty good level, honest footing. And with this idea of power over other and control of other, not just controlling you or your own household and your own business of what you're making or growing, or but controlling other people and their thoughts and their morals and ideas, their beliefs, controlling their household and all their people. And this is the start of this insidious corruption that we have ended up with over and over and over. And we suffer from it today. They say that when you build a culture, you have a whole culture. There's a structure there. It's like a not unlike a building that you would make, and you have to have a sound structure and a foundation and levels of this to build the floor that holds the floor up, holds the walls up and the roof up and the house together and all this. In those foundational levels, at the very bottom is this concept of what we are producing and how much we are producing and why we are producing and what can we do with it. Do we do it just for our own family and our own household and other close relatives maybe, and that's it? Do we do it where we have more than what we actually need, and then We could go to the neighbor and say, "You have more of this other thing that I would like to have some of, and you want some of this. You'd do better if you had some of this that I make. Let's trade. Let's trade. Let's make it fair." In in the growth of that within a small village, in a culture, this corruption has snuck in and taken over. And when they say that, and this is what the ancients say about culture and the foundations of culture and money, wealth, commerce. However, if you're using shells for that, or you're using gold for that, or tobacco for that, and whatever it is, uh, people tend to want more and save more of it, and they want it to last. And maybe they need it to last through a harsh winter or a harsh summer, depending on where they're living. And it, with this corruption, it starts making you dishonest. It starts in the money, and the money is not in itself a dishonest thing. It's not an evil thing in itself. It's just whatever's being used for money. It's just a thing. But it's how the people are using it and why they're using it, and what they want to achieve with this. Out of this corruption, our morals start getting tainted and twisted, and the ethics of it all, the what is truly fair, and having a market with all your neighbors, just so you can all trade goods. And who does somebody want to come in there and start controlling the market, or make rules, make laws for the market? You quickly end up with a not a free market. It's not free. It's not between the two people exchanging goods, deciding that is fair for both. And maybe an outsider looking at it says that isn't really fair. But for them in the moment, they're both happy with it and it's a good deal. So that's a free, open, fair market. And with the corruption of money, we lose the fair market. And we lose um, our whole idea of equality and good sharing back and forth, uh, helping ourselves, helping others. We lose the concept of the well-being of the group. We're only interested in the well-being of maybe just ourselves, maybe our family, but it builds a hierarchy. The corruption, this kind of corruption in the money, builds a hierarchy. You start having this pyramid shaped culture where the controllers are at the top. There's very few of them, and all the rest of the people are scattered in the hierarchy. Um, the people who don't have any real say or freedom and are at the bottom of this pyramid, and everybody's scrambling up the pyramid trying to get to a higher place so they can have more control, more wealth, more prestige, more supposed value of things. And they develop systems that steal from one another. And that's what we're living in right now. That's what we're living in. We're at the extreme of it. And we've seen this hierarchy. There's always somebody at the top. There's used to be be kings and queens and or some other ruler, an emperor, ruler by whatever name, and they want to keep their position. They're making money that um, they have produced nothing for. They're not the producers. They're not the wealth makers. The people, all the people down here are the producers and the wealth makers. And the people up at the top are just blood sucking. They're just parasitic. They find all kinds of ways to steal from all the people down the lower part of the pyramid. And we have a chance to change that. We can break the cycle and we can what would you say, take apart the old world that we are currently living in, and hopefully in a gentle way. We could do it in a really rough way, and with wars, or all kinds of earth disasters. And some of the worlds before us, some of those cultures actually with their wars caused huge earth disasters. And we certainly have enough power many times over to do that, if that's something that we choose. But if we want something different, if we're tired of this old way and we're tired of the hierarchy and the pyramid and the people at the top stealing from us and cheating and lying and perpetually trying to keep us down in all kinds of ways through every system we have, through they try to keep us down through our food, giving us very inadequate food, not entirely human consumable food. They tear us down with taxes, with fees, with inflation, with pharmaceuticals that do more harm than they do good, with making laws and rules on top of laws and rules that are designed to keep us down, keep us unhealthy, keep us not thinking right. The corruption gets everywhere. It gets into our religious institutions. It gets into the educational system. It's in every single part of our culture. And we have to look at that. We have to be honest with ourselves. We have to look honestly at the world around us and how it operates and how it gets the way it is and that ball keeps rolling, perpetuates itself. How's it been doing that for thousands of years? And we have that chance and we need to do it. We need to clean up that poison inside ourselves, not just our culture, not just our money system, but every system. And I can see this happening these days as it gets, closer and closer to the end of the old world. I see all these kinds of things and ideas popping up to make it a gentle transition from our old, dying, super corrupt world to a very, very beautiful, loving, free world where people are self sovereign and free, and markets, places are free, and the money we use, because there's so many of us, we really need a money system of some kind, but we need a money system that cannot be corrupted, and I think we might have one. I see the beginnings of the new world and people's understanding of what the old one really is. They're coming to terms with it, and they stop lying with themselves, and they look at the world around them for real and see what needs to change, what needs to go. And they're looking inside themselves for the same thing. What's at the root of ourselves? You know, we haven't been eating the money itself, so the corruption, the money level inside our own cells, um, that's our blind beliefs. We've collected all those lies that everybody told us, all the corruption, all the nasty stuff, all the pyramid stuff, everything, internalized it. That's at our core. That's in the core of our being inside. And that is what we have to clean up in a big way, or we'll never be able to clean the culture up for good. And the way we do that is to agree to be totally, almost ruthlessly honest with ourselves. Yourself, inside yourself. What kind of beliefs do you have? It's not your fault that you have them. You were raised that way, and your parents were raised that way, and on and on and on for all these generations. It's been passed down. It's not our fault, but it is our responsibility. It's our responsibility to clean ourselves up and help everybody else to clean themselves up, and every system, change every system so that we eliminate the corruption. We can't do that without cleaning ourselves up first. So we
So
got to
how do the ancient
Mhm.
teachings help us with all of that?
say, I was just starting to say that.
I wanted to make sure you get to that.
Of course I get to that. It's the key. Of course. How do we get to that? We have to question ourselves, question the blind beliefs. We never questioned them before. Somebody said that, oh, somebody important, over here, over there, way back when, said this thing, this belief, this idea, and it's really good, and you need to accept it and believe it. And it's like the Holy Grail. You got to believe it with emotion, with charge, and stick with it. So we have all these blind beliefs in our core that are very emotionally charged, and we need to take the charge out of them, and we need to look at them honestly. And it's not always easy. It could be really hard. It could taste real bad. We can feel really funny about ourselves that we believe such crazy things, such stupid things. But don't don't get hard on yourself. Don't judge yourself. Just look for what is true and honest and real. Even our sciences are corrupted. I mean, some of them are really, really corrupted. And there's a lot of them that get corrupted. They start off really good and with good intentions, and um, they want to be right, and they want everybody else to know that they're right and that their idea is right, and so they defend it. They don't try to figure out whether it's really, really true or 100% true, but they defend it. They push it into the world, and everybody else starts believing it too, without really knowing, understanding, or caring if it's accurate or true. When I had my conversation with the aliens that were in the backyard with their equipment years ago, that's something we talked about, and I was asking them to teach me about anything because they seem to know so much and have so much, and they had this incredible liquid crystal technology sitting in the backyard doing I don't know what, but it needed to be there. I guess it may have been charging with the earth, balancing itself or something. Um, I wanted them to teach me that whole idea. This is way, way back before the public knew anything about liquid crystals, that a liquid could be a crystal. And I wanted them to tell me more about what that was. How's it be? How does it get that way? And how does it do what it does? And all that stuff. I was just really eager to learn anything that they wanted to teach me. And they said they didn't have that kind of time, and it would take so much. They'd have to teach me so much and so many things um, about physics and science in order to understand what they would say about what this stuff does. And my reply was like, well, I've had some sciences. Maybe I should have taken more science so that I'd be able to understand that. But we must have. There must be something in here still that that would be a foundation enough to understand some of what you're saying. And they all shook their head. They all said, "No, your science is wrong. Too wrong, way too wrong. You got a few things here and there that's a little right. And some of it starts off a little right, but it just you make assumptions. Your scientists make assumptions and guesses, and then they think that's right, and they go with it, and they build on that, and your whole culture is built on that that same way of thinking and guessing and jumping into something without really being able to know the truth of it. And that's all because of our blind beliefs. So even our science was having huge contamination, and in all kinds of directions, all kinds of different motives for this contamination to be there. People don't even realize that they have contaminated thinking and feeling, and that their ability for them to spiritually grow, to perceive on a spiritual level, to interact with things on a spiritual level. Um, all those blind beliefs are blocking it. We'll never see any of what that is. And what it is, it includes real science, true science. But people can't reach it until they get all this corruption out of the way. Right now, we're in a stage where we don't have the real knowledge and the real understanding. We don't have the spiritual growth enough to be able to wield uh, the weapons that we have. It's like we're the kids that got a hold of daddy's gun, and we don't know how to work it or anything, but we think it's all really cool. We don't know the ramifications. There's just so much we don't know until we get the corruption out of the way. So that is their big message. That's the heart of it. What do you two have to say about that?
I still want to ask you about how the ancient teachings are going to help us um, build this new world. It's like, how are they going to do that? I was hoping you touch on that a lot more.
Okay. The first place to start is to question your beliefs. And the next place to start is to feel. We think we feel, we have our five senses, we're feeling with our five senses. And we we think we're thinking, and we think we are feeling with our emotions, but they're all stunted because of our blind beliefs and how we've been taught and raised. We've stunted them. They're not permanently stunted. All we have to do is change our way of looking at things, looking at ourselves and the world, and know that the road ahead is blocked to us because of those blind beliefs, and all we have to do is clean them out. And in the cleaning out process, it begins with that questioning and the feeling. Just reach out with your feeling. The ancients say we have these physical feelings and the thinking and the emotions, and that's good, and that's necessary. They need to be all cleaned up. But we have the spirit senses. That's where the biggest part of us is. That's who and what we are. And the majority of who and what we are, where all of that lives and exists, in the dimensions that it lives and exists in. And we interact with that with the spirit senses. And with our spirit senses, we are interacting with everything, whether it has a physical component or it's totally spiritual, energetic, non-linear, non-material. There's a great, great, great deal of things in ourselves and our universe that is not physical and not material. It is energetic. It's of that non-linear nature. That's what people for centuries have called spiritual. And it's humongous. And the potentials that we have are humongous with our spirit senses, with all of our spirit abilities, the ability to increase our intelligence by increasing our consciousness. Those are all spiritual things. We can't do them by just reading or listening to lectures or doing numbers and formulas. And those are all linear mind things. Your linear mind is a tool for the spiritual part of yourself. It is a tool, it's not the master. we've been living as though it's the master. And it's the linear mind is what helps keep all those blind beliefs in inside you, in their place inside you, trying to control you, trying to keep you um, part of that corrupt culture, believing all those things that are lies and incorrect and just dumb, stupid mistakes that somebody has made, and we believe it. When we move all that corruption out of the way, and we're freeing up the spirit senses, then the whole world of feeling opens up in a huge, huge way. There are some elders that know about a lot of ancient teachings that say that the pre-flood Egyptians, not dynastic Egyptians, but the pre-flood Egyptians who were not of the corrupt culture, that they had 360 spirit senses. We have 5 physical, 360 spirit senses. There's that many, like, seriously cool, different kinds of things out there in the world, and different kinds of places and levels and dimensions that we can be perceiving and we can be interacting with and utilizing and developing technologies to utilize these things. We could be developing um, telepathy, teleportation, um, moving moving objects with our mind, doing things singularly, just ourselves, or as a whole group. It's said that there are certain Tibetan monks that have the knowledge of how to move like really giant blocks of stone with their minds and with sound. And they gather together, they pool up their resources, and they use the sounds and their intent to raise the block. And they could raise it as high as they want, move it as far as they want, as they need. And there's stories about Westerners observing this, being allowed to observe this, where the monks were in a circle and they're moving this super giant block of stone, tons and tons, way, way, way up a cliff into a cave on the cliff. And then it's just the sounds and their intent. And it went up, no trouble. We have all kinds of stories like that. A lot of that kinds of those stories, that kind of knowledge and the how-to knowledge has been kept alive in small, very out of the way indigenous peoples groups and passed on very carefully. And while we're living our wild, chaotic lives of corruption, that knowledge was kept safe. My teachers belonged to a group like that. The knowledge was kept safe, and it was the most sacred thing in their whole culture. And the most important thing was to keep the knowledge safe and keep it moving generation to generation, never forgetting it, never letting it die, keeping it accurate. And there have been people around the world who have kept these these kinds of understandings, this knowledge alive. There's stories about shamans that just jumped up and down on the earth, not any particular spot particularly, but uh, their goal was they were going to go down into the earth and do whatever business they needed to do down there, and they'd be coming up in some other place, maybe far away. Sometimes, like in the far north, there's stories of shamans um, who are not quite as far north who would jump in the ground. They would physically be able to teleport themselves to a spot in the far north where there, I don't know, maybe trouble or they needed something or then somebody needed to get out or whatever. And sometimes they'd come back with some of those people with them alive. These things are real, and there's humans that have been able to do these things, and we most certainly have alien races out there in the stars that are able to do these things really well because as a race they're way older than we are, millions, billions of years older than we are, and had figured out all this stuff a long time ago. And these are their natural abilities. And we have those potentials, but we got to get the garbage out of the way.
Okay, I'm coming. I don't know. Maybe I'm on a different wavelength today than you are, but I'm coming back again. Yeah, we got to question our blind beliefs and get out of our head and learn to feel and learn with our feelings to understand the world and get our garbage out of the way. But how are the ancient teachings helping us to do that?
Those are
That
the things that we start with. We question and we
I
feel, and we learn who we are. We can't learn who we are until we start questioning the old and we feel. We open ourselves up to be be willing to truly, truly feel with everything that we have. And then we can learn who and what we are. And the Hedekas call that learning our song, finding our song, our beingness. It's it's a process that puts us in touch with the non-linear, total non-linear side of ourselves and adding the physical into it, our totality of what we are in this moment and what that feels like, what it entails, who we have been through history, what we have been, what we really are. When we do this song ceremony, we learn who we really are, and we learn by feeling it. And the more we know about who and what we are, where we have been, the more we can explore the nonlinear, the more we can touch with all of our senses, spiritual and physical, and learn from those realms, learn from everything that is nonlinear, learn from the entities, the consciousness of beings, all kinds of different beings, the consciousness of the whole world, to learn what's real from that, from all of that, and just keep learning, taking it in, living it, being it, and teaching others the same thing, passing it on. This is this is how we change the world, Because if we can clean ourselves up, enough people are cleaning that garbage and corruption out of themselves, changing the way they're thinking. We have thinking errors. Our, our thinking processes, thinking routes in our brain and our bodies and in the energy field are wrong. They're they're distorted, they're corrupt. And in these healing processes, like the ceremony of finding your song, it corrects those things and it teaches you the truth of things, of anything you want to pursue. If you want to know where your past lives have been, or if you even had them, is that a real thing? That's a real thing. And we've had a lot of them. We've probably had a lot of them here on the earth, and we've had a lot of them in other star systems with other cultures and in things that we don't think of as easy to go have a life in, like a nebula, and be part of the nebula, have a life as part of the nebula. The world is astounding and endless, and the possibilities are endless. And for us right now, it starts with questioning everything around you, everything inside you, especially your blind beliefs, and encouraging other people to do that. And learning how to feel. Just, it's a matter of focusing your attention. If you focus your attention on your TV set or your phone, your computer, you're zeroed in, you're focused. And you could be like in that computer in whatever kind of program, YouTubes or games or something that you really like. You can be focused in that a long time. We need to take that and apply it to the rest of ourselves and the rest of our perceptions in the everyday world. We've been so controlled and so blinded. We've been like in a sleep, in a kind of fog, in a type of sleep for centuries. And we need to come out of that. We need to break that down. And these are the steps to do that. Question everything. Start feeling everything. Start pursuing your spirit senses. Find your song. Do the ceremony of finding your song. We have on our website a whole bunch of examples of song ceremonies that you can do on your own or in pairs or groups and learn from the everything that is non-linear, everything that is spiritual, the spiritual half of you, the big half, and the big half of everything that is out there, the whole universe. We think we see a big universe when we're looking out there in our way of corrupted living and looking at things. We think, wow, that's really, really big. It's only a tiny, tiny little piece of the universe. We're focused in this little tiny physical part. The nonlinear is endless, and it's full of so many different kinds of things and places and entities and consciousness and aliveness and extraordinary adventures and learning. And we can have that all. We can have all of it. It starts with learning your song. And this is what these my teachers, their culture, the Hedekas teachings, they call this way of living katasi, and that means balance, or we're working together to put the world back in balance. It means both those things. And these other little cultures that have been hidden away for so long, keeping this knowledge alive. The knowledge is huge. It takes a long time to be able to go through all of it. And I've been around for 76 years, and I most certainly haven't covered all of it yet. I've been scratching the surface. So this is what our world needs to be able to create a new world. A clean, a new, a loving, honest, free world where everyone is self sovereign and perceives the love that's in the universe and the beauty that's in the universe and the peace. And to be able to see the kind of creativity we all have within ourselves naturally. We're creating every moment of our lives as a single person, as a group, as all of humanity. We're creating what we're experiencing. When we first hear that, we're hearing it with our linear mind, and we're thinking about that and kind of tossing that around as how's that? How could that be? But when you start acquiring knowledge with your spirit senses and these very deep, profound variety of spirit senses, when you know your song, you feel your song, you are interacting with the world with your song, that interaction is in that spiritual realm with all those different senses. And the way you learn is so different. It's through experiencing and feeling. It's not through memorizing it and through your linear mind. But we learn things on a much deeper, fuller, huge levels of knowledge. Just we come into, it's hard to put it in words. I could use metaphors. It's like we walked into a room of pure knowledge about a particular subject, very big room, and we're feeling it, we're perceiving it with all of our senses, and the knowingness just soaks into you. The knowingness of that truth. And it's there forever. And there's nothing about it that you can forget. It's not stuck in your linear mind where dementia could make you lose it. It's in your spiritual part of your being, and it's there forever. And when we do these song ceremonies and other kinds of ceremonies, we can start noticing that we have all these different past lives in these different places, and we can focus in to that memory, and it's like visiting the past life. You could get as full and complete perception as though you were actually still there, or there again, maybe you'd say. It's a spiritual experience. And you learn, you remember the knowledge that you learned back then. And you remember whatever whatever kind of blind beliefs and wrong kinds of ideas you might have had and lived out, and you remember that you did that, but you see it from a different angle. You're seeing it from a different perspective, from a true knowingness, higher self perspective. You could tell what's true and what is not true. It's it's an instantaneous feeling quality. The art, it's the art of the spirit senses. Does that answer your question any?
Yeah, you got definitely closer at the end there. But I think there's so much more that you could get into.
There's so much more. This would be just the beginning. What we've been talking about, what I've been saying, describing, just the beginning. And it gets bigger and better and juicier and wilder and crazier and more beautiful. The beauty of it all, the beauty that is in the truth, in what you experience and feel and learn and gain the knowingness of, the love that is in that. The ancients say that the entire universe, everything in it, meaning you and me, we are all created out of love. Everything is created out of love. Love is the first material. It's an energetic, spiritual material, but that's the first material. And everything is created out of that. And you feel it, you see it, you hear it, you taste it, you smell it. Your spirit senses are feeling this extreme beauty, just unbelievable. We don't have words in our physical languages, or especially our modern languages, that come anywhere near explaining this stuff. Poetry, you have to talk about it in pictures, in metaphors, stories. You wonder why humans love stories so much? This is why. A true story, the ancients would say a true story is a medicine story, and it teaches you medicine things, teaches you about human life and spiritual life, and how to have a spiritual life while you're here in the physical life, and how we work those two things together. Because if you want any of this and you want to get rid of the corruption, you have to start learning to utilize the physical part of you, which includes the linear mind thinking, with the energetic spiritual part of yourself. The two have to work together, and they have to work in a conscious way. You have to purposefully, consciously be directing your own attention and where you want to put it, what you want to experience. You might be perceiving something out there that is super intriguing in the spiritual world. Don't know what it is yet, but you want to know. And the way you find out is to take your attention and aim it just like a laser into that unknown that you wanted to know so badly, and you go inside it, live inside it, be part of it, feel it inside and out, breathe it. You feel it with all your senses, the knowingness of what that is, and its beauty, its love, its things that it knows and it can share, its beingness, how it lives its life. You learn it all in a very intimate, heart level, knowing, thorough way, thoroughly through your body. It's like every cell has participated in that learning and the experiencing, even the energetic experiencing. You could feel your energetic parts of yourself, and you could feel it engaging and interacting and sharing all this information. The amount of information that we can store is endless. The amount of experience that we can have and store, the knowingness that we gain from that is endless. And it goes in all directions, all flavors, all colors, everything that you could imagine, and way past that. Does that touch on a little more of what you had in mind?
I don't know where I am today, but I was thinking along a bit different lines and subjects, I believe, when I was formulating that theme. But you certainly did more at the end, as I said before. Laura.
Hey, that was great. I think I kind of get what Helmut was saying this way, but I mean, what I I've seen the ancient teachings and how they've, especially in the call of your song, I've seen how they change a person, and as you're talking about the corruption inside, if we want to fix the corruption out in the world, we've got to start inside. And I've seen how the ancient teachings, practicing myself over and over again, but also in other people, they just even that what we call the beginnings, the call of your song, learning your song and mask and doing those beginning ancient energy opening ceremonies and the forgiveness ceremonies, the ancient teachings that are just the there's so much more in the ancient teachings, going further and further in the school and the practices, but just those, like, what we have, the beginning ones, like, you see how those ancient teachings start waking you up to the world, and how it's harder. It begins that questioning everything, because you're starting to sense things and feel things and come out of this box by using those teachings. And I'll say time and time again, if every human on the race would just go through, though, you don't have to go further into the healing arts or you don't, but I would, but, and I did, but just if all the humans would learn, those 5 beginning ancient teachings of song and mask and do the life opening, the earth fire serpent ceremony and the forgiveness ceremony, what a different planet this would be. You can see. So I love how you said, the to heal this planet, we have to start with the corruption in ourselves, and a lot of times we're not even aware of it. But I also know those people who are like, one of the things popped into my head was I can't remember who it was, but it probably is good. I don't remember who it was, but they said they would be a better person when the other guy becomes a better person. Like that's, they'll stop being corrupt when the other person stops being corrupt. And I think there's a lot of people like that, that when they're better, I'll be better. And I've often heard I can't be better because of what they're doing. They need, it's like I can't stop stealing because they're stealing from me, so I have to steal from the next guy. That kind of mentality. But it's that mentality is what's going to continue the world down the destructive path that other worlds have led into. And these ancient teachings not only show you the truth, but what I've found and everybody has found is it's not that you all of a sudden the truth, you're seeing the toxic, dirty, ugly, that we talk about, you see it. You think you're seeing it, but I can tell you, you really see it. Once you start opening yourself up through these ancient teachings, you really see the truth of things. And all of it is a lot closer to home than you thought it was. But what you also see is the way out. The ancient teachings are part of what wakes you up to the path out. And it's why we need to fix the corruption in ourselves first. It's, it, as much as you're seeing the truth and the ugly, you're seeing the truth of the beauty. And there's actually more of that. And so if you can stay in the ancient teachings and really practice it, it's just like you might, what's the term? Sometimes you have to go under to come out. It's like, it feels like that in the beginning. It's just like, oh man, this is stinky. And my senses are, I see it more. I hear the lies more. I see it more. But you see the truth, which means for us, that's what people, the corrupt world doesn't want us to have these senses. They don't want these ancient teachings to come back. There's a reason they kept them secret, so we wouldn't know the potential of seeing the beauty and seeing our personal power and seeing the way out, seeing how to fix the corruption in ourselves. And we fix the corruption ourselves. We fix the corruption in the outside world, as Kay said. And I love that. We can't wait for the other guy to stop stealing, so we stop stealing. We just got to stop. Stop. And it's just like these teachings are amazing. And I go again how much I'm just so happy to be here and have found this and see it, because it's I do not have 360 senses yet. Outside the 5 linear senses, I've got a few more but it already, with just the few I have, it's the significant beauty and seeing the path out and how we get out and seeing our potential to get out. It's easy for me to actually believe we're going to make it this time when Kay says it, because I can see, I see it too. I sense it. And that's my thought.
Beautiful.
Thank you both. Beautiful. Maybe we develop conversations that go further and further into all of this. We'll see. But this was our last talk, most likely for the year. Any last thoughts?
We have a chance to make it. And don't believe the corruption when you hear it. When you see it. Don't bite the hook. Don't drink their Kool-Aid. Question it and feel. You can get to where you can feel if it's true, if it's real, if it's a downright lie, if it's theft, if they're telling you, oh, this is a really good food and it tastes so good and it's so fun for you, and you know, here, take a couple of these, buy more. It turns out that there isn't a molecule of real food in it at all. It's all industrial chemicals and plastic, and that's killing you. They're feeding you a lie. They're feeding you all kinds of lies in every different form you could dream up, every avenue of our lives. But you can get to where you can feel it. It doesn't take that much to notice what that feeling is. That's a spirit sense that says, there's something wrong with that. I don't think I have anything to do with that. And you find a different way to go about life. And then as you're doing these things and learning them and using these tools, they're all tools. The things that Laura's talking about are all tools. This way of aiming your attention and learning your song and all these different steps, they're tools. And as you use them, the spiritual abilities grow, the spiritual understanding grows. We can't do anything but. And the more you learn of what is real and what is beautiful and what true unconditional love really is, and that we are that, everything is that, even all these other people, all the different races, the different religions, the trees, the rocks, the everything in the universe. It's all made with love. And it has beauty in it. And you can feel it. You can perceive it. You learn to perceive with more than just your physical senses. And that in doing so, that tells you so many more bits of information. That tells you about whether what you're looking at is fake or whether it's true and real. So happy questioning. Don't stop. Keep at it. Even things you think might be dangerous to question, that's probably where you should start questioning first. They might be the worst of the lot.
Okay, more about the ancient teachings. Whoops, there we go. Kay's latest book, The Weavings, Dawn of a New World. The link to that is below. And thank you both again. And thanks everybody for joining us live and everybody listening to this later. Thank you. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and we see you next year.
Bye-bye. Thank you all.
Love you.
Love you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.